What's up, everybody? Before we get started, I just want to thank you all for hopping in, spending a little bit of time over this holiday weekend with us here at From the Pink Seats podcast. We got the Kentucky preview episode coming up where it's going to be me, Matt, Vince. We got Matt stats, we got game preview, and we got a snake draft of our favorite Thanksgiving dishes. All that and more. Let's get this intro going.
It's going to be a chess match between Ron English and Cutter.
Hello and welcome to a special Thanksgiving episode of From the Pink Seats podcast, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to University of Louisville football. Make sure you hop on in. If you're on the YouTube, beat that subscribe button like it owes you lunch money. Leave a like, hop in the comments, and tell us how much you hate that school to the east. And if you're on the audio side, hop in, leave a 5-star review. To quote Bomani Jones, if you leave 4 stars, we're inclined to believe you're a hater. I'm producer Keith. That's Matt McGavic. That's Vince Lococo. And fellas, happy Thanksgiving. How are we doing?
I'm already full. I just had dinner. Yeah.
Getting the Thanksgiving head start. Yeah. I mean, I'm full, not for Thanksgiving reasons, but, you know, it's also been a really busy week because, you know, obviously big week this week on the football side. And, you know, basketball, I know this is not the basketball pod, but it's deep in the crossover season. And as of this recording, Louisville is just like a few hours fresh off of snapping off of their foot in Indiana's ass. So, you know, there's that.
Couldn't back out of that one, Indiana, could you?
Red Foreman would have been proud of that performance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, it's Thanksgiving, and a common feeling on Thanksgiving is hunger. And fellas, I'm fucking hungry. I'm so hungry for us to get a win against that damn school to the east. I know the cool thing is to act like you don't care. Oh, it's whatever. It's not a conference game. Like, no, I want to win. I'm sick of this, man.
Them
being ass at football is the reason I'm a Louisville fan to begin with.
Just put this into perspective. The last time we beat them, I was on the football field, like physically suited up in shoulder pads, pants on the football field.
Yeah, it's
when you put it like that.
Oh well, yeah. Went through 2-10, COVID, 2 different football coaches, 2 different ADs. Like I need a win so bad.
Yeah, like I want it bad. Well, before we dive into the full-blown preview of us just fervorishly foaming at the mouth and telling you how bad we want this team to win, I figured because of the holiday, we're going to be a little festive to start the show. So, fellas, very short notice springing you on this. We're going to do a 3-round snake draft of favorite Thanksgiving dishes. And we talked about it before the show. Vince, Matt was benevolent enough to bestow the number 1 pick upon you. So, Vince, what's coming off the board at 1-1?
For me, 1-1. I know everybody, and you know this might not even be a common pick, but I'll go with stuffing. I feel like
that's
what I was gonna pick.
That's such a good number 1 pick.
God.
That's such a good number 1 pick. So underrated.
Time, it's just like turkey. If turkey's either one of your all's next picks, I'm gonna judge you hard.
Well, I mean,
fortunately, turkey. I mean, I love me some turkey, love me some ham, but you know, other than stuffing, one of my favorites on any Thanksgiving is sweet potatoes, especially with the pecans and the marshmallows.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So we got stuffing and sweet potatoes off the board. Y'all just attacked my big board that I had in the back. So I'm sitting here. I'm going to go unconventional first round. They're never going to see it. Now I will specify on the stuffing thing. Significant difference between like stovetop dressing and actual out of the bird stuffing. When you say stuffing, I'm thinking stuffing. Like,
agree. Yes.
I want full blown TSA to get that to get that mix out of the bird when it's time to eat it. So Vince, feel free to judge me all you want, but I'm going to be specific on this pick. I'm a dark meat guy.
That's fair.
So
that's also fair.
A turkey leg. The leg specifically is one of my must-haves for Thanksgiving. So if you want the neck, if you want whatever, go for it. I'm taking turkey leg with my first round pick. Hey,
keeps the thigh guy confirmed.
So now I'm back up again, second round pick time. And one of the good uses of the turkey neck is you use it and you get some of the meat off of it as you cook it down to use for your gravy. And the gravy is what you got to have for your hand mashed potatoes. I take them. Nice. I like them lumpy. That's why, like, when I'm making them, I have to do it myself. I got a hand mash. I'm a freak though. Like, I like the potato skin in there too, but a lot of people don't. So I'll usually have to peel them.
Depends on the day. I don't. I would, like, personally, if I'm doing it at home, if I'm being lazy that day and I decide to mash some have the skin on them, I'm not complaining. So
yeah, mashed potatoes going to be my second pick off the board. So I'm sitting with turkey and mashed potatoes. I'm pretty thrilled with my plate already. So Matt, you've got sweet potatoes off the board. What's going to be your pick?
Honestly, I was going to go with mashed potatoes first, just because I'm just going for all the potatoes. Yeah, just turbo carbs. You know, turkeys are synonymous with Thanksgiving, rightfully so. But me personally, I like turkey. Don't get me wrong. But I really like ham on Thanksgiving as well, especially a nice honey baked ham with that glaze on it. Delicious.
Oh yeah, no, big ham on Thanksgiving household that I came up in. You got to have both. You got to mix your proteins.
Yeah. Me, I'm up next. I get two, right, Keith? I'm going to go. I'm going to go mac and cheese.
Good pick.
It's got to be the right mac and cheese, though. You know, some households don't do mac and cheese well. Some do mac and cheese really well. And I'm not particular with my mac and cheese. I like breadcrumbs on top. I like the extra ooey gooey one. It's just got to be one or the other. I can't do a really dry fucking mac and cheese. No.
I was about to say, I was about to ask if you were like the artisan breadcrumbs on the top kind of guy, or it's like
no preference on my mac and cheese as long as it's not dry. You know?
Fair enough.
My last pick. Now, this is going to be a shout out to our former running back coach, Colby Smith. Can y'all hear me all right? I'm on one bar right now.
You're not moving, but I can hear you. So
okay, I can hear you.
It's building up the suspense before the third
I know.
round.
I didn't want it to buffer out on me right here. I'm in the middle of telling a story. Right. So in 2017, I went to Thanksgiving with Colby Smith, and he had turkey, ham, everything you could think of, sweet potato casserole, all of it. But his mom made the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. And to this day, I am like searching for fried chicken at Thanksgiving because I think it's just that much better with all those sides. So I'm going to go with fried chicken. Okay. And shout out to Colby Smith.
Yeah. Oh man, I am absolutely torn because I've got two foods in mind. Gosh, I feel so fat right now just because I'm deliberating like what food to take. But you know what?
If there's any holiday to do it, it's this one. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'll go for the variety here. I'm going to go with green beans, but it's got to be green beans like mixed in with some bacon bits as well and cooked in that bacon grease as well.
Yeah.
Like not like Vince said, not dry ass green beans, like some nice savory beans.
How do you feel about green bean casserole? Because I feel like people knock green bean casserole way too much. See that face you're making right there? Green bean casserole doesn't deserve that. Green bean casserole, your chili deserves that, not green bean casserole. No.
So
the crispy onions on top. Come on.
Well, so, I was going to go with either green beans or potatoes au gratin because those are really good.
Yeah. So
isn't Thanksgiving an American holiday?
I feel like maybe there's
au gratin. What the hell is that?
You being serious right now? Like the cheesy potatoes where they're sliced up like almost like a home fry, but they're cheesy.
Yeah, I never knew that had a name. I just called it cheesy potatoes.
Oh no, that's what they're called.
Potatoes au gratin. It might be au gratin, but I grew up in Owen County, so
yeah, I still call it Versailles.
Sales.
Shall we take a trip to Paris? Man, so there are a lot of great options left on the board here. Nobody got into desserts, which shocking.
Yeah.
Technically, I did with sweet potatoes, depending on how you make them.
I mean, nah, if it's got potato in the name, it's not a dessert.
Ooh, before you go, are you guys sweet potato pie or are you guys pumpkin pie?
Pumpkin pie, hands down.
I don't discriminate. Do you think I got my physique by turning down pie?
Yes, me too, Keith. I'm right there with you, brother.
So, but that's one of the obvious picks on the board. Honestly, I'm surprised no one went after just some good corn. But I guess this isn't a Iowa or Nebraska based podcast. So,
that'd be 1-1 if
this was
a Huskers podcast. So every pick would just be corn.
You've got now. Obviously, there's the stereotype of it coming out of the can, but like good homemade cranberry sauce is also a fantastic option on the board if it's made.
I would prefer the can. I would prefer the can.
Some people do like the can. If I'm having it, I like it to be homemade, but I'm going to go.
Really? You like having those chunks of cranberries and stuff in there?
I just told you I like having chunky potatoes. Hell yeah.
True. Yeah.
This is my controversial food take for this episode. I think cranberries are disgusting.
Ah, man.
I think you're disgusting.
You just don't like tartness, man. But
no, I like tartness, but not that. It's got a weird tartness to it. Like it's a disgusting tartness. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not
wait until you get kidney stones or a UTI, and then you'll learn to like cranberries real quick. Or if you got to pass a drug test real fast.
No comment.
But I'm going to go a bit unconventional for my last pick. I am going to be in the dessert realm, but I'm not going with pumpkin pie. I'm going with pecan pie. It's something, it's so sweet and it's such a rich dish. So at least for my family, we only ever had it on like Thanksgiving because ton of half and step siblings, you could only get a little bit, but it's so rich and so sweet that's really all you need to appreciate it. So hop on into the comments. What great Thanksgiving foods did we miss? And I'm going to bug Jacob and see if he can throw something together for socials. I might have him roast our drafts to see.
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for the commentary to say, you guys are idiots. You forgot X, Y, and Z.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure there are, but I wanted this to be a quick off the top number, but
what is your guys' opinions on deviled eggs?
I was just about to say I love me some deviled eggs. It was literally going to be the next thing that came out of my mouth was deviled eggs are awesome.
See, if they're not seasoned properly, they're
that's true. My grandma and aunts do a good job about seasoning their deviled eggs, I guess. So
I can't do mayo. Like it's a hard no for me. Instant, I'm out.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd rather figure from not eating mayo.
I know, right? I come by this honest.
Well, I mean, you just said it. Do you think I got that figure? But not even, yeah.
Oh no! I got you. But yeah, no, can't like most condiments. Actually, I don't touch. So wow. I just come by this by putting away a lot of meat, a lot of cheese, and a lot of inactivity over the last decade.
Carbs, baby.
I'm in my bulking season, as I like to say.
Yeah, I've been on a 10-year bulk. I just haven't been doing the weight part. Yeah, exactly. All right. So, let's go ahead and shift a little bit from the holiday theme and let's start to mosey our way towards the game. One of the first things, though, of course, is talking about the injury report. And like coming out of Stanford and going into Pitt, I feel like this is probably the healthiest we've seen this team since maybe even at all this season, because we came out of camp pretty banged up. Matt, being the man on the inside, going out talking to people, any new updates on injuries for anything?
No, not really. I mean, like you said, Keith, this is probably the healthiest they've been in at least a month and a half or so. I mean, we saw Isaac Brown bounce back. We saw Stanquan come back. Maurice Turner finally made his return after being away for about 2-ish months. The only one of note right now is Jared Dawson, just because he got banged up at Stanford and didn't play in the last game versus Pitt. But other than that, I mean, outside of the guys who are already going to miss the season to begin with,
Yeah.
there's nothing really else. There's nothing else to report on the injury front, which is fantastic news if you're a Louisville fan.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talked about in the season preview was the health of the team coming into this game. And if it was going to be like a depth versus depth game, how would that affect our chances versus coming relatively at full strength? So with the team's health the way it is, that's fantastic. So, and you know what else is really fantastic? Our friends at Underdog Fantasy. College football, it's rivalry week. Then we've got conference championship games. Then we've got Army, Navy, and then it's the hunt for the playoffs. We're creeping ever so closely to the end of the season, and parting is going to be such sweet sorrow. So you have to maximize every moment that you have. And you know the best way to maximize these last college football Saturdays? It's with our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the best place to cash in this football season, and every diehard fan loves making picks. So why not cook up your own entries to win yourself some real money? And you can make those picks in just a few taps of picking higher or lower on stats like passing yards, interceptions, and touchdowns. One of the things that I hate when I'm making picks, if I pick my favorite running back to get a touchdown and they are just crushing it, they're moving the ball down the field, the team's relying on them over and over and over, and then they get inside the 5 and they get subbed out so that some bum comes in and vultures their touchdown. Well, Underdog Fantasy hates that too, and that's why they have vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, Underdog comes in and they will rescue your entry. So join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog. Download the app today and use code PINKSEATS at sign up to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, that's promo code PINKSEATS to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7-HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Thanks, Underdog Fantasy.
Beautiful job, Keith, as always.
A+ odd read.
So, yeah, Underdog, I haven't had a chance to really dive in and cook yet. I usually like to do that on like Thursday, Friday sort of deal. I got a feeling I'm probably going to be hitting the lower button quite a bit if I'm looking at the Louisville, Kentucky game, just because of how they like to muck things up. We'll talk more about that later, but because you know who never mucks anything up and has always been pristine, whether it's delivering thoughtfully written journalistic pieces or posting premature team photos to the internet. You know him, you love him. It's Matt McGavic with Matt Stats.
I had someone text me just yesterday saying, "Oh, hey, I saw a reel of that team photo on Instagram."
The fact that was it. One, I saw it on my TikTok from a random TikTok account that is not associated to Louisville at all. Like after that, I didn't want to mention it to you at the time because it seemed like I wouldn't have wanted that mentioned to me, so I didn't want to do that to you. But yeah,
Guess
you
what?
made some waves, brother.
It's scarred over now, Matt. Now we just get to poke it.
It's good content.
If you thought that was the team photo, you're either a troll or a dumbass. And I don't care.
What if I'm both?
Well, we know that
you're a fullback, so.
Well, I was going to say we know a lot of people associated with a certain media entity are definitely both. So.
They shall remain nameless. Anyways, let's get into the stats, shall we? So thank you. Getting into some of the baseline stats overall. PFF, putting it shortly, is not very high on Kentucky, both as a whole and with, in particular, their offensive side of the ball. Overall, they've got an 82.6 grade, which sounds good, but it's actually 73rd in all of the FBS, which it's towards the tail end of some of where you see some of the power conference teams. On offense, their total offensive grade is 95th. They've got the 119th ranked 109th ranked pass blocking unit. Their receiving core is actually ranked 68th, and their run game with an 88.1 grade is actually ranked 25th, and that's something I'll get into in a little bit. Their defense, I mean, Mark Stoops is a defensive-minded guy. I mean, UK's had really good defenses ever since he's been there. But even by some of these metrics, I mean, there's some aspects where PFF is really high on it, and there's some aspects where they're just kind of in the middle of the road with it. They've got the 47th ranked defense with a defensive grade of 86.3. Their run defense is ranked 77th. Their tackling is ranked 66th. Their coverage is ranked 64th. And the one aspect where PFF is super high on Kentucky is in their pass rush, with the 17th ranked pass rush grade of 82.3. And I know we're going to get into a lot of like the quarterback talk in the episode, but I mean, we know Brock Vandagriff's not going to play, and he's been terrible. And there's not really a big enough sample size on Cutter Boley to really come away with definitive opinions on like what the stats say there. So I just kind of decided to get into the running backs, and their top two guys in Jamarian Wilcox and Demi, and I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, but I know, Keith, we talked about this before we start recording, but I'm going to try and say it. Demi Sumo Carnbay? Is that how you say it? Is that how we decided that's how you say it?
Know what? That's close enough. Carnbay. Bet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you any different.
They play for the Blue School. They don't deserve their name to be pronounced correctly. Let's just get toxic as hell.
So those two, So Wilcox has an 89.7 offensive grade. Demi has a 77.6 offensive grade. They're two of the top three players on that side of the ball, with the one guy in between them being wide receiver Dan Key. Something that I noticed with not just their ability to run the ball, but where they decide to rush the ball when really kind of diving deep into the woods. 41.9% of their combined rushing attempts are off tight ends. And then another little chunk of their rushing attempts are right up the middle to the left of the center, so just off the center's left shoulder. So that means a whopping 58.6% of their rushes are either off tight end, left or right, or to the left of the center. So that's about like 2/3 of their total runs. So there's not a lot of inside zone type runs. There's a lot of outside off, not even off tackle, off tight end stuff, and some dive concepts and whatnot. So
I'll tell you what, Matt, that doesn't sound predictable at all.
Yeah, I know, right?
As soon I wouldn't be. This game has made me so paranoid and toxic. It's like, I wouldn't be shocked if they were building up those tendencies all season to explicitly do the opposite in this game for tendency breakers.
Yes, because Mark Stoops is that smart.
I want to give him credit for something after the last 6 years, man.
Nope.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And I think like a larger reason why this running back tandem, they've done well, but they could have been doing a lot better. But the reason that they haven't is because UK's offensive line is terrible. And just kind of looking into their advanced stats, none of their 7 main offensive linemen have an offensive grade over 65, and 4 of them have a grade under 56. Like that group right there has allowed 18 sacks on the season, which that part isn't like a ton, but they've also allowed 84 total pressures. So they've been, while they don't give up a ton of sacks every game, they let defenses get into the backfield fairly often. And so whether that be getting into the pocket to disrupt the quarterback, or being able to get penetration to disrupt run plays, I mean, the offensive line for Kentucky hasn't really been giving their running backs much room for any success at all. So it's kind of a minor miracle to see Wilcox and Sumo Karngbe have the seasons they've had up to this point. Like, they're a solid, like, 1-2 punch. And then go ahead.
I was going to say that's a really surprising stat because of just the size and physicality of the type of athlete that Kentucky's been bringing in for the last, 10 years since Stoops been there. It's surprising to hear that their offensive line numbers have been that down. And now, granted, like, they've played a couple of games against some really tough D lines like Georgia, like Texas, but they've also had some cupcakes mixed in there too. Like, they got bullied around by Vanderbilt. So
to Matt's point that he always likes to make, I wonder how many of these kids that start on the offensive line are from the state of Kentucky. Because I know for sure that Jaeger Burton kid is from Kentucky. I know they've got a couple offensive linemen in the past from Kentucky. So I'm just curious, like, if that correlates with what Matt says, where locking down the state isn't necessarily always the best of ideas.
I mean, I would argue if you're going to recruit a position, like, in bulk out of a state, O-line and interior D-line's probably one of the better ones, because I thought that team did a lot of their O-line recruiting out of, like, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Like, that's where a lot of their northern pipeline was.
In the past,
So that would be an interesting thing to dive into when it comes to roster composition. But anyway, let's throw it back to Matt to get these stats wrapped up. That O-line stat was just fascinating to me.
Yeah. And so going over to the defensive side, I mean, like I said earlier, PFF thinks it's a good unit and maybe not a great unit. And just looking at a player by player basis, it kind of you can see why, just because of their top 20 players in terms of total defensive snaps played. Only 5 are at a 70 or above grade, and 10 are below a 65. So you have a handful of players who are above average and a bunch of average, which is better than being straight up bad, sure, but this isn't what we've seen traditionally out of Kentucky's defense in the last several years, where they've got a ton of talent on that side of the ball. And of their top 5 players by defensive grade, one of them is out for the season in linebacker De'Aaron Jackson. I believe he got hurt a couple weeks ago, and he's already been ruled out. And then the other 4 are cornerback J.Q. Hardaway, edge rusher Siobhan Rebka, Deion Walker, who, I mean, by all accounts is still really good and should get drafted fairly high. But I don't want to say he's been disappointing, but he hasn't really put up a numbers wise from a baseline standpoint and from an advanced stat standpoint. And then, of course, there's the 6-fingered man in J.J. Weaver. So they've got they've got a few names to look out for, but just kind of digging deep into the weeds, it's not really a defense that's on par with some of their units they've had even in the last 2-3 years.
So that is interesting as well, because coming into the game, just like as someone who I don't particularly dive into hate watching Kentucky a ton, but I would think that's normally a strength, which could explain why they've been so down. So let's go ahead and start to shift into the preview. And
hold on. 2 out of the 5 offensive linemen are from the state of Kentucky, to Matt's point.
Okay. Now, I'm curious, are they the
stats, Matt? You like that one?
Vince's stats.
Are they the
Possibly
right
wrong.
guard? If it is wrong, then you can hit the sounder. Damn, Vince, where'd you find this?
Exactly. I just say KSR. That's where I got it. That's where I get all my reliable news sources.
These stats brought to you by CTE.
Brought to you by Antonio Brown and friends.
I was about to say Vince auditioning for CTE ESPN.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So to preview Kentucky, they're currently 4-7. If Louisville were to win this game, it would be Mark Stoops' worst season since his very first in Lexington back in 2013. The fan base, obviously down the road, pretty disgruntled because he's one of the 10 highest paid coaches in college football, and he's currently the longest tenured head coach in the SEC. And obviously the results have not been great over there. And I'm not trying to lob cheap rivalry shots, because if I do that, I'm going to make it over the top and obnoxious. And I just feel like if you ask any Kentucky fan, they're not satisfied with the state of the football program right now. Another one of the key previews is that we hate them. They're tacky and we hate you.
Hashtag analysis.
And then obviously the one thing that always throws the monkey wrench into any sort of confidence I get when evaluating this game, we've lost the last 5 matchups, including a freaking weird game last year. A kick return for touchdown. I believe we had a couple of turnovers deep in our own territory. Devin Leary wasn't even good against us, but just, it was a frustrating one. So you have the team coming off of a frustrating game last year. The fan base obviously wants a coach that gets it. Jeff Brom, I'm pretty sure fucking gets it. More than just about anyone.
I hope the whole staff does. I mean, majority of those guys have either participated or viewed it, up close and personal. I mean, it's.
I thought you were going to say a majority of them have the last name Brom.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is a coaching staff that gets it. I feel safe on good authority saying that. And it's going to be curious how they can convey that to the team with the roster composition as it currently is. I believe of our starters, a couple of O-linemen that have played last year, but of our star players, I think Ja'Cory Brooks might be the only one that's played against Kentucky in his past.
Well, how I would,
on the offensive side, I should say,
how I would go about it if I was Jeff or anybody in that building is there's 6 locker room TVs in that building, inside the locker room. All 6 of those TVs, I would have something different on with subtitles of, Matt Jones or any of them talking the way that they've talked this entire past summer and year about the team. That's one way to get these guys to understand, like, these people genuinely don't like you, and they don't like you just because you put that red jersey on every Saturday. That's okay. I don't like their guys because they put the blue jersey on, but it's just like you need to get through your head that this game is it's not the biggest game on your schedule. It matters. It just matters. We're not going to the ACC championship. We're not going to the college football playoffs. It matters.
Well, I mean, it's this week's game, so this week it is the biggest game that matters. So,
I love it, Keith. I love the coach speak.
I am coach pilled, which is surprising, Vince. I feel like the stereotypes of some of the tropes we say should probably be alternated between each other. But yeah. So some of the key players to know on Kentucky's team, and we'll start with the bad man who hurt us last year, Barian Brown, and his wide receiver counterpart, Dane Key. Both 2 electric playmakers, play wide receiver, who haven't really had the opportunities to shine this year because of who they've had at quarterback. Barry and Brown, I just don't kick it to him. Just don't. Like, I would I'd rather eat the penalty and give him the ball at the 45 than take that chance.
I'm sure Brock's looking at that personal too. I mean, but you can joke about it all you want, a kicker looking at something personal, but I mean, Brock didn't do his job there and kick it through the back of the end zone. So I'm sure he's looking at every single fucking kickoff he has as an opportunity to kick that ball as far through the end zone as humanly possible.
Yeah. Or, God, I just love the idea of just the find your bitch on the front wall and just aim at their dome piece if they're trying to bail out early. Yep.
Dude,
worst case you miss and it's a squib kick.
I would have been terrified of that. I would have been terrified of that.
Who was it that was able to pull that off earlier this season? Because I know I've watched the game where I saw that happen. I can't remember, like,
wasn't it the Steelers just during like the Mike Tomlin magic bullshit run that they go on every year?
It might have been, but I thought it was a college game. But I do remember, like, a kicker shanking the ball so badly that it actually played out in their favor because it hit the up man right in the face.
Yep. Bounced back, and that's a free onside recovery.
Yep.
So now my high school team wasn't very good, but that was definitely a drawn up play where just try to blast the front wall. And if you miss, it's a squib kickoff. So you're good either way.
We'd usually be up by so much in high school, it wouldn't matter.
Us rural public school kids didn't have the deep rosters like Louisville Trinity. So, Matt, another player you wanted to highlight, Matt, JQ Hardaway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean he's probably going to be relied on a lot in this game just because Maxwell Harrison's been a little banged up this year. I am not 100% sure if he's actually going to play in this game. I could be wrong, but I did remember seeing in part of my research that Harrison had missed a couple games just because of, like, getting banged up because it's football, so that happens. So like they're going to have to rely on him a lot more. And like just looking at the numbers, he's done probably a lot better than Harrison has played. So, and that's someone that Tyler Shook has to keep in mind. Obviously, you have to take into account Maxwell Harrison as well because he's proven to be a really good corner. But now that's two guys that you have to like just kind of keep your head on a swivel for.
Yeah, and a big person that it's going to be hard not to have your eyes on. Deion Walker, massive D tackle, nose guard, very likely first round NFL draft pick. Like Gonzalez, Nigra, Collins, Brown, if he's getting reps at guard, Godspeed to you.
Cut his ass every single time. But I mean, if they're that big, they'll fall. They'll fall eventually.
Yeah, except he's big, fast, strong. Like he can put his.
That's why you cut his ass. That's why you cut his ass.
Like Hawks.
Yeah, because cutting worked so well against Stanford.
It worked against Clemson.
We're throwing the ball. That was stupid. You know it, Keith.
just let me throw out a bad argument. Come on. I hated getting cut, man. Don't cut people. That's just mean.
Oh my God. I got cut so bad one time in practice on scout as a freshman that I didn't even get out of my linebacker stance. That's how quick the offensive lineman got to me. I was like, holy shit.
Another player to highlight, JJ Weaver. Matt, you want to go a little bit more on him?
He's got 6 fingers. Got it. Done.
Yeah, he is who Inigo Montoya warned us about. However that line in The Princess Bride went. It's been years since I've seen that. But I mean, if there's anyone that Louisville should be weary of purely from the I've been here so long that I know to like just hate Louisville on basis, it's him. And not only that, I mean, he's also been there, done that. He's a good player. I mean, statistically, he's not had the season that you would think, just 27 tackles overall, but he does have 7 tackles for loss. So he can get in the backfield in a hurry still. I'm pretty sure he leads the team. Yeah, he leads the team with 5 sacks. So he's someone that can be super disruptive, and I'm pretty sure this is his final year, so he's going to want to try and go out like with a bang. So he's someone that if you're the offensive line for Louisville, make sure you keep your eyes up for him, because as well as they have played off Louisville's offensive line, I mean, Kentucky's got dudes in that front seven, and if you're not, crossing your T's and dotting your I's, you're going to be on your ass.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more coming up, but that was one of the key matchups I had lined up for this game, was just the battle in the trenches. Before we hit top the matchups, just a couple more players to watch out for. Obviously, the running back tandem, Jamarian Wilcox and Demi Sumo-Karngbe. Like Matt talked about during his stats segment, this is a team that's had to rely on the run game quite a bit, and these two have both been able to put together pretty damn respectable seasons despite a underwhelming offensive line in front of them. This will be a fun one
bad
to watch.
Quarterback play.
Yeah, so it's like
breaking news. No.
Oh,
the Cards will wear a red helmet with the Cardinal bird, Heisman bird on top, with all white bottoms and tops.
Boo. See, yeah. I'd go if you're going red helmet, go red pants too. Come on now.
Red helmet, red face mask.
Why is it so hard? There's always one side that does the all color, and then the other side screws it up. Like, why? It can't be that hard.
Not to get off topic here. We did that on College Football 25 in our online dynasty. We, ironically enough, had UofL week yesterday, in our online. It was hilarious, and also a lot of shit talking going on in that. But we tried to do the color rush game, and it on the system I was watching was showing Louisville was the home team this year, all red, and on my buddy's system was showing all blue, and we were in all white. Shit was so fucking wild. Yeah, I know it's really off topic, but that just sparked a memory that I thought I had to get out.
So now, friend of the program, Mike Rutherford I don't know if he would like me saying go full blown as reported, but hinted on his show this week that Louisville was trying to go full blown red versus blue. It would not shock me if those fun suckers to the east decided, oh, they want to do something and have fun. No, you're going to wear this. Beer. Yeah. So blame it on Barnhart. You know what? I'm sure Kentucky fans can get on board with that too. Blame Barnhart for that. Everybody.
Or Stoops.
So,
whatever you guys want to yell at this week.
Like they want to yell at a lot of people over there.
Yeah. Now, personally, I'm not a big like red versus blue advocate. Like, I get it. I get why people like it. It doesn't move the needle for me. Like, I personally would love us to just break out the all white unis again. But red helmet, toss a little bit of red in there. I would like red pants too if we're going to throw red on.
I kind of agree with you, Keith. I'm a big home team has to wear the darker color. Away team has to wear the white color. The school that bothers me the most with it is just LSU. I hate how they wear white at home. Nothing pisses me off more than them wearing white at home.
So I'm going to get this in and then we can start to try and get back on track. I low-key love home team wearing white and away team wearing colored uniform.
Oh, that's fair.
Like Georgia Tech used to do wearing white at home. LSU does the wear white at home. Like every sport, you wear white at home, except football.
Because we're the hardest sport in the world.
Let's just break out the murder birds again for this game. Screw it.
Hell yeah, man.
Low key,
definitely do that.
Would love the murder birds just because those uniforms had creativity to them. Like, whereas this year it's the same 2 decals on 3 different helmets and the same 3 jerseys.
Man, everybody wanted those cleats when they came out, but a year later, we were like, damn, those fuckers are ugly as shit.
Also, I love that you cut in where you did because we've gone this far with players to watch, and we haven't even gotten to the new quarterback stepping into the fray, getting his first ever start.
Cutter
Bowley. Now,
hold on, let me put my dip in. Cutter.
So I dove into a couple of recruiting databases to get some sort of scout on this kid because I'm not about to go in and watch even more high school tape. I've been watching enough of that on these most recent commits that we've gotten, which, hey, high school recruiting has a pulse. Yay.
Not dead yet, Keith.
But here were the reviews on Cutter Bowley and watching his performance in the Texas game. A lot of these evaluations seem accurate. Traditional pocket passer. I believe they used pro style, but I think that they're using a very old version of pro style because that doesn't mean what it used to. So
yeah, honestly, when I hear pro style nowadays, I just think that just means you're slow.
Exact. Like, it depends on who's using it because real pro style, it's like, okay, you're pretty athletic, but you're not holy shit. So pocket passer, not a massive running threat. Like, he's mobile enough to where if you absolutely have nobody in the zip code, he'll probably tuck it and take off on you, but he's not going to escape from sacks like Kevin Jennings. He's not going to be able to run through your face like Riley Leonard. So he's just a big old guy back there. He does have a big arm. That was one thing.
Nice.
Yeah, he made some impressive throws against Texas. Like, kid's got an arm, but he is pretty aggressive. Like, he has that gunslinger mentality of trying to fit balls in windows where they just won't go. So that does leave him susceptible to mistakes, to turnovers. I'd love to see a couple more picks this week. Got to see a couple against Pitt. Missed those. Would love to see some more.
Agree.
So that was the scout I have on him. And I mean, he's a freshman. He hasn't seen a lot of college defenses. Like, you were talking about blitzing out of pissed offedness, or as I called it, Grantham blitzing, Vince, for the Pitt game.
When you play under him, you just call that defense, buddy.
Exactly.
True.
But this is the week where I wouldn't get too crazy exotic on the looks, just because they have dangerous enough weapons at wide receiver. I don't want to leave us on an island, but I do think you should send some looks at him.
Yeah,
I don't
that's fair. I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't get too crazy, just because I don't want to get torched by Barry and Brown or Dankey. Or if you do want to get crazy exotic, do it early. Make Cutter actually beat you. If he proves he can, then you can adjust. But no, I like the idea of getting after this kid with at least a couple blitzers, so that we're not having a 4-man rush, because we've seen how that's worked out so far this year. So we can
at least, like, don't sit in a base formation the entire time like they did against Stanford. At least in the Pitt game, they mixed up some more off looks, like in some exotic looks. I mean, they didn't blitz every time, but they did up the pressure a little bit against Pitt from what they did against Stanford, which is they didn't blitz hardly at all against Stanford. But even when they weren't blitzing, they still more were like giving the allure that they could blitz, because they were starting to like up the pressure a little bit. Like, they weren't just sitting like in their base package and the two linebackers were like 5 yards off the line, just kind of standing there, making it obvious that they're going to be in pass pro. They had some guys sitting off the guard or something. They had like some guys like creeping up in the box. Like, at least mix up the looks a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Stanquan demonstrated very well. Like, we can get a little bit exotic with him, and he can function in that defense. So, yeah, I'd love to show me a little something. Throw a little spice on there. Throw a little chili powder on those eggs, Ron. Come on.
I'd add more, but that's good. That'd get into my matchup talk.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and shift it over to matchup talk. So,
yep. So
go ahead, Vince. First matchup.
That was the matchup I wanted to highlight. You asked me earlier, Keith, of which I was looking forward to the most, or which sparked my brain. And the first thing that came to mind was Dankey and Barry Brown in the corners, but really it's Cutter and Ron English. And the offensive coordinator included in that, because how are we going to confuse him? I mean, he's a first-year starting quarterback. First game starting is going to be the Louisville, Kentucky game. That's a lot to ask for. That's a lot to ask for a kid. Now, granted, he could be like myself and a lot of people who grew up around this rivalry would, be eaten and love to have that opportunity. Like, oh my God, we get to play in the game as our first start. Like, this is going to be awesome. So I'm anxious to see how this kid responds. I know he's going to come out slinging it. I know he's going to come out and try and fit in those tight windows. I don't know if it's going to be because he's a freshman or just because he has that confidence or a mixture of all of it. But we're going to have to confuse him, and be it mugging two linebackers up in an A gap to get him uncomfortable, mugging guys up on the edge, even bringing safeties down into the box and dropping them back off, and flipping, a cloud and a field cover 3 type look. So it's going to be a chess match between Ron English and Cutter and the defensive coordinator, at Kentucky.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch. I should be very confident going into this, because it's a true freshman starting in his first game. I personally, as I assume he's going to be someone who grew up like a lifelong Kentucky fan in that area. So as a Louisville guy, if I'm making my first start and it's that game, I'm already going to put an overwhelming amount of pressure on myself to begin with. So on top of the fact of everything they've probably been throwing at this kid this week in practice, because they can't afford to go bare bones playbook against us. At least I hope not.
And you guys don't love him that much. Don't lie to yourselves. He took a visit to Tennessee. I know you've seen that picture of him in the burnt orange. I know that bothers you to your soul. Yep, there
it is. So, but there is something to be said, though, about a true freshman starting. And when doing my own research, can you guys guess who the last true freshman to start at quarterback for Kentucky was? Do you know who?
Andre Woodson?
No.
Tim Couch?
Tim Couch.
Damn.
That's just not a good sign.
Don't go to the Browns, Cutter. Don't go to the Browns.
It's like Interstellar. No. Somebody did that with Browns fan. You say that, Keith. I saw that on TikTok not too long ago. Somebody did that with the Browns fandom.
Yeah, I've seen it for the Browns, the Bears. Yeah. Meanwhile, I feel it, and I'm picturing it in my head with the Dolphins.
I am too. And going back to that decision in the dorm room we made to become Dolphins fans, like, not a good idea.
So one of the matchups I was looking forward to, I talked a little bit about it earlier, just the matchup in the trenches on both sides of the ball, because Kentucky has both teams, big, strong, physical-ass defensive lines going against offensive lines, where Kentucky's has been underwhelming, but they've recruited high-end talent. Louisville don't necessarily have the superstar names on paper and have struggled at times during the season. They looked great against Pittsburgh and they looked great against Stanford, but it's going to be a significant step up in level of competition. Can they keep this recent form that they've had going into a game against a much more physically gifted opponent? So trench warfare, that's what I'm looking forward to, because as the lines go, that's how the running game's going to go. And
that's how the whole game will go, Keith. I agree with you completely. Oh, yeah. There have been games where we've been owned, 19 specifically, I believe, where it was just an ass kicking up front a little bit. I think they had multiple guys going to the NFL the following year out of that offensive line, but still, like, I agree completely. This is going to be a tough matchup. It always is in the trenches.
Yeah,
and games are won at the start of the line of scrimmage, no matter what you want to say.
Yeah, but if our interior defensive line can kick ass, get a push, cause our linebackers to be able to make contact with their running backs at the line of scrimmage, or hell, even in the backfield, try to blow up some of those stretch plays, blow up some of those dives in the hole.
Wrap up.
It could cause a lot of havoc and could put even more pressure on Boley to have to try and be a hero with his arm, which I think is likely the way we win, is force them to pass the ball. So one last matchup that I personally was looking forward to seeing was the secondary versus Berrien Brown, Dane Key, which was one of the ones I had written down. Just how are we going to match up? Because if we do decide to throw exotic blitzes at this freshman quarterback, is our secondary going to be able to hold up and not let either of those guys get butt naked open? Because they're playmakers. All you have to do is put the ball in their hand.
See, and I think we have the corners that are up for that challenge of being in a man-to-man, one-on-one type situation. Quincy Riley has proved that whenever – when he's locked in, he can be one of the best corners in this conference. It's just there have been times where he's had lapses, and I'm sure he'll be the first one to own that he's had mental lapses where he hasn't been paying attention or hasn't done the right thing. But when push comes to shove, he's still a pretty damn good corner, and it's all about that other side and how we can, maybe shade the safety over in a cover one or cover two type deal to give the corner, a little bit more leeway, make him feel more comfortable with what he's doing over there. I agree though that this is going to be a huge matchup. I mean,
and it all matters. It all comes down to like how consistent they can be. Because just not only just the defensive backs or the defense. I mean, this team as a whole has been just wildly inconsistent. I mean, they look fantastic against Pitt. They look like shit against Stanford. They earned one of their top regular season wins ever at Clemson. Before that, looked terrible in the first half. Looked great in the second half against Boston College. Before that, lose 3 of 4. Before that, start the season 3-0. There is just no consistency at all. It's just up and down, up and down. Can they parlay the momentum from the Pitt game and take that into the rivalry game and just be able to play at a high level, or at least at a positive level, from a down-to-down basis?
See, and we've talked about the guys having these miscues of pre-snap pointing and looking like they're not knowing where to go. An easy fix for that is to mug guys up and go cover one and say, that motherfucker right in front of you, that's your boy. Cover him.
So I was talking a little bit about players with experience in the rivalry. And I cleared it to specify offense because there was one guy I thought of. I want Tamarion McDonald in a cover one robber look underneath, just while Key or Brown or maybe a dump off to one of the running backs coming across the middle. Cause he played for the Vols. He's already got the hate Kentucky experience.
Oh yeah.
Just blow a father mucker up across the middle.
I didn't even really think about that, Keith. That's a hell of a man.
Like I want to see T-Mac with some juice in this game and let him just blow someone up across the middle. I would complain,
be a sense of pride amongst these guys too, knowing that we have not. That's another thing that Jeff, I'm sure, is instilling in them. Like we haven't won this game since 2017, guys.
You know who should be a pregame captain for the coin flip? Isaiah Cummings.
Yeah.
What color would he wear? Black? black t-shirt. Like,
hey guys. I want send the toxic guy. Send Jacory.
Maybe he's the good luck charm though.
maybe
that's the good luck charm.
He's on a winning streak.
Teams with Isaiah Cummings have won in this rivalry. Fact or fiction?
Advanced analytics right there, Vince.
Yeah, Vince stats. There we go. Chalk another one up. Vince stats, Matt.
Damn,
teams with Isaiah Cummings.
Find this.
Yeah. See, I didn't even have to do much research for that one. That was all off the dome.
I mean, you're not wrong. Isaiah Cummings is undefeated in the rivalry. So
yeah,
no, we should have Isaiah Cummings lead a squad of walk-ons to thwart the sweatpants mafia that Stoops is going to send out before the game.
Oh, man. Yup.
Every year.
Every year.
So
we thought they were in 16, but they didn't. Trust me.
Before we dive into predictions, what are some of the matchups that you all are most confident in coming into this game? Like, for example, one of the matchups I'm the most confident in is Ja'Cory Brooks, Chris Bell getting open against Kentucky's secondary. Like, they haven't been stellar. If we can give Shuck some time, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to be able to scheme up some big plays open for them. And after his game last week, I thought about throwing Blue Hicks in that conversation too.
I have to piggyback off you for sure. I mean, and just add Tyler Shuck into that equation. Just having a dynamic quarterback like him this year changes the game for us, opposed to Jack last year. So,
I wouldn't say Louisville matches up great per se here, but I'd say they trend well in this area. And what I'm going to say is, like, Louisville's rushing efforts versus Kentucky's front seven. Because, I mean, Kentucky has dudes in the front seven. I mean, I'm not saying they don't. And they've been – but like we've talked about, they've been good, maybe not great like we've seen in the past. And Louisville's offensive line, I mean, I've said it for a couple weeks now, they deserve a ton of credit for the level of play that they're at right now, considering how banged up they are and how guys are having to play out of position. And Isaac Brown, for all intents and purposes, is 100% healthy. Like that shoulder injury at Stanford never happened. Duke Watson is really starting to come into his own as well. And I don't think Louisville's going to snap off for 200 rushing yards, but if there's like a crucial third and manageable that they go for rushing, I think I feel good about Louisville's chances at at least converting the sticks.
Now, you don't think they're going to rush for 200 yards, but it'd sure be cool if you did. Come on, Austin, put on for your city, bust some heads. Come on, Austin.
I mean, dudes like Austin, Renato, Ashton, these guys that I was around that were Ben Perry, Ramon Perrier, guys that I was around whenever they were freshmen. I know for a fact they want this game more than anything in the world. Anything in the fucking world to be the ones to break this streak right now.
You know who I'd love to see make a huge play on special teams? Travis Egan. Just blow a guy up on a kick. Now, hopefully they aren't getting any kick returns, but on a punt.
I would be insufferable if that happened.
Jacob would be levitating.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So, speaking of Jacob, let's go ahead and dive into the predictions portion. And as
Speaking
always,
of Jacob, he sucks.
Well, diving through the numbers, and I will double check after the show, but I'm pretty sure, Vince, you and Jacob are tied. So the two of you are 2 games ahead of me now, and Matt is now
Jacob.
safe from punishment or relegation. So to dive in, Jacob had to deliberate on this a lot. And by deliberate on this a lot, I had to wait about 30 seconds for him to text me back.
Easily the quickest he's ever replied to the pick text you sent him.
For some background, the spread on this game, I believe it initially opened at 2.5, and the money has been coming in on the Cards. So now the spread is sort of ballooned up. A lot of places I'm seeing it at 4 points even. I was able to find a number at 3.5, and you know us boys here love a good hook. So 3.5 is the line we were using. And Jacob almost immediately taking the Cards and giving up the 3.5 points on the road. So Jacob Lane on the board, taking the good guys. Matt, as the leader in the clubhouse, it's your turn.
I mean, given how the series has gone the last half decade, I mean, I feel like I should just pick Kentucky on principle. But I mean, you look at how the teams are trending. I mean, Kentucky doesn't have a bowl to play for. I mean, their offense is awful. Cutter, Boley, Bronk Vandegrift, doesn't matter who's back there. Their defense has been good, but I mean, it's been at the mercy of their offense. They eventually have to fold at some point. Whereas with Louisville, they're at least coming off the win against Pitt. They're still trying to jockey for like better bowl positioning and selection and whatnot. I'm sure, even though Stoops always gets up for these games, we all know that Brom wants this game more than anyone. So I think Louisville wins, and I think Louisville covers.
Nice. Thanks for passing the sticks, Wildcat Matt.
It's BC Matt, damn it. Get it right.
Not this week. I'm going Cards. Come on, man. Was there ever a question of who I was going to be picking? Come on. If you've listened to this show enough, I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've picked against the Cards. And I think I lost to those too. So, I mean, I'm going with the Cards anyways. Ride or die. Let's go. Let's kick some blue ass.
So,
for you, Keith, I know this is going to hurt what you have to say.
So for you,
hey, respect, Keith. Yeah, respect. You got to do what you got to do here. I wouldn't want to run a 40-yard dash either.
It's the 40-yard dash I'm fine with. Like I told y'all, sub 6 seconds, I'm happy. I don't want to float a peck throwing up 225 cold for the first time in a decade.
Wow. So you're just going to go cold? You're not going to just warm up or anything?
Dog, I'll blow my load warming up. I haven't lifted weights in a decade. I'd have to raw dog this, man. I gotta use some fight or flight adrenaline shit if I want to get it up once.
If you end up having to do this, I will make sure we have smelling salts, and I will make sure that you get the shit slapped out of you before, so you got some adrenaline.
So I just took a quick peek at, not an ad, Game Time, which their whole shtick is the ticket prices get cheaper the closer to the start of a game because they want to put that inventory as much as possible. You can get, it's not a great seat, you can get in the door for $28, fees included, on Game Time to this game. Now, I know it's going to be cold, and you got to go east where it's not exactly the most friendly environment.
They have a cookout, though.
They do have a cookout. That is a plus. But there are seats in the 100 levels at, I'm seeing $51, $57, $65 for end zone seats, $75 for 50-yard line on the visitor side. Like, there are good seats at reasonable prices available for this game. So if you don't have any weekend plans for the holidays, and if you don't mind the cold, and if you want to get out and create an environment, let's get some red in that building, man. Let's make it. Like, I remember, what was it? Not last year, but the year before last, or pardon me, the last home game before last year. That was embarrassing, the amount of people that got in that stadium, man. Like, to see that much blue in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
Let's return the favor. Like, Kentucky's down this year. It's going to be cold. There's going to be a lot of people who don't want to talk themselves into going to that game. Mm-hmm. I want to hear Cards chants on the television in that stadium just to hurt them that much more. Everything on the books says, Louisville should be the favorite. like Vegas thinks Louisville should be giving up a field goal plus as the road team. I think we have the better quarterback. I think we have the better line. I think we've got the better defense. I think we've got the better tandem of wide receivers.
I think we have a better coach.
I definitely think we have a better coach, especially value-based, because he's not one of the 10 highest paid in the country. But the Mike Rutherford thought process also applies here. And also, I have to do this just to stay alive in our pick'em season. I can't.
It's okay.
I can't pick us to win this until I see us do it. So, plus, we can still win and not cover. So I got a little bit of wiggle room, and that's make it a close win for the win by 1 or 2, or even a field goal because I got the hook. I'm going to have to take the bad guys.
Let me ask you this. Would you blow a peck if we won by 60? Would you just, I mean, like if I gave you that option and said, because you're talking about blowing a peck doing the bench, but if I gave you the option of, hey, Keith, you're going to willingly blow your peck, but the Cards win by 60, guaranteed, would you do it?
How hard of a peck blow are we talking?
Purple and
man.
black.
Ooh,
Oh, man. I mean, yeah.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that would hurt a lot. But you know what? I got good health insurance, thankfully. So yeah, let it rock.
Love it.
So, yeah, I'm gonna bad guys plus the points. Go Cards. Just let them cover. So thank you all again for tuning in on this holiday edition. If you're listening on Friday, we love you too. And if you're listening to us on Saturday, get on some apps, get some tickets, and get over there on the drive over there. Come on, let's fill that barn up with some red. Let's embarrass those guys. I'm producer Keith. That's Matt McGavic. That's Vince Lococo. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of From the Pink Seats podcast. And as always, go Cards. I'm not a basketball guy. Kicking Indiana's ass as bad as we did, give my dick a little wiggle. That was nice.
As a matter of fact, I'm taking my belt off.